It is said that blood is thicker than water, but not for Harold and Tostig. Their actions lead to their deaths, along with the King of Norway and the entire country of England. Blood Brothers. The Battle of Stamford Bridge. Our story begins as it ends, with the king's death. King Edward the Confessor is dead. The year is 1066, and the final Viking invasion of England will commence within the year. Harold Godwinson, the Earl of Wessex, has been elected by the Witan to be the protector of the realm and the rightful King of England. As King Harold ascends to the throne, his brother, Tostig, whom he has exiled, is raiding the shores of England seeking revenge and plots with the King of Norway for the throne. Morcar and his younger brother Edwin are charged by King Harold to defend the north. In June, Morcar and Edwin confront Tostig and defeat his Flemish mercenaries. Tostig escaped and sought shelter with his brother-in-law, the King of Scotland. While in Scotland, Tostig somehow convinced the King of Norway to invade England. He joined their invasion fleet in early September. Together, they sacked the town of Scarborough before moving to and capturing York without a fight. On September 20th, Morcar and Edwin confront the Viking invasion. Unlike their previous success, they were soundly defeated at the Battle of Fulford and forced to retreat. Word reached King Harold of the defeat in the north. King Harold was positioned in the south to repel the expected Norman invasion. But with their defeat, the Viking invasion could not be ignored. King Harold gathered his men in London and set out on a 185-mile forced march to York. The news of a Viking invasion spread across England, and the Fyrds responded to the king's call. As Harold's army raced up the English countryside, his ranks swelled to 12,500 men. Harold arrived undetected by the enemy in Tadcaster, just outside of York on September 24th. On the eve of the battle, King Harold disguised himself as a messenger and entered Tostig's camp. He offered his brother one last chance to turn back, but Tostig refused. The Battle of Stamford Bridge was on. Roughly 6,000 Vikings were camped a half-mile across the Stamford Bridge. Another 3,000 men were guarding the invasion fleet, some 15 miles away in Rickle. With the element of surprise on his side and the enemy forces split, King Harold attacked on September 25th. The surprise attack was a success, but the fighting on the bridge was ferocious, with a single Viking killing 40 English men before being struck down. to the heroic fighting on the bridge, the initial shock of the surprise attack was blunted, and the Vikings were able to form their line. The English quickly followed and attacked the Viking shield wall. As the fighting continued, the English attempted to flank the Viking shield wall, but they closed their ranks, making a cavalry charge suicide. After nearly 3 hours of fighting, troops that were guarding the invasion fleet in Rickle entered the fray. The frantic 15-mile sprint cost some warriors their lives, while others fell to exhaustion. The amount of men that did make it to the fight were able to turn the tide of the battle. But the sustained combat while being exhausted only delayed the inevitable. The Vikings were killing, but they could not kill fast enough. Their losses were starting to mount. An overzealous section of the Viking line mistakenly chased an English line that they believed to be routing. They did not see the reserve line directly beside them. King Hodrödr watched as his line became surrounded, and he made a desperate attempt to rally the line back into formation. He ran directly into enemy fire and was struck down by an arrow to the throat. The King of Norway is dead. The men began to panic. With a broken and panicked shield wall, the English send in their cavalry. Tostig and the remaining forces are decimated. The English continued to chase and slaughter the stragglers all the way to Rickle. King Harald arrived in Rickle and allowed Hodrödr's 16-year-old son, Olaf, a request for terms. Olaf promised to never leave Norway and to never bother England again. King Harald agreed to the terms. He also allowed him to take any ships he needed to go home. Of the initial 300 ships, they left only needing 24. Olaf would be a man of his word and would later be known by his people as Olaf the Peaceful. King Harald saved England from the Viking invasion. This victory would be short-lived. England and Harold would meet their demise at the Battle of Hastings by a descendant of Rollo, Duke William of Normandy. Athelstan's England died in 1066 with King Harold, the last true Anglo-Saxon king.